I was hyped initially. After all, it isn't every day you get access to an Animo Claymore unit. Originally, my intention with Varka was to do some kind of Dragon Strike based composition and have some fun with a unit that could do some plunges. So you can only imagine my disappointment when I realized that his skill stance prevents him from plunging. Okay. Why do they do this? I don't understand the point in making a character with this kind of restriction in 2026. Like, come on. Like, there was Flynn's and now we have Varka. Like, why? One of his adopted kids, Razor, can plunge perfectly fine with his burst state active, but somehow the father just can't do it for whatever contrived reason. Ugh. Okay. Yes, it's a damn shame that Varka can't plunge while in his enhanced state, but he can still at least plunge normally, right? Good news, yes he can. Bad news, his plunge multipliers are so laughably bad that Razor's plunge scalings are higher. Are we sure Razor was taught by Varka and not the other way around? This isn't the worst part though. The worst part is that this Tanuki that can never hit a growth spurt for the life of her has the same plunge multipliers as Varka. Yes, you heard me right. Sayu, who's maybe a quarter of the size as Varka, does the same plunging damage as he does. So considering that I was planning to plunge Varka anyways, and it's effectively the same thing as if I did it with Sayu, it's time to do some dumb crap. Just to drive the point home, I also got Varka's Claymore and equipped it onto Sayu. Even more diabolical, the team I was planning on using Sayu in is one of the current best in slot teams for Varka. But I wasn't just going to use this team for the memes. One thing that this team has that is useful towards plunging is Animo Resonance, which increases the movement speed of the party by 10%. I was going to take full advantage of this. Despite already using Sayu in 2 videos, I haven't Dragon Striked with her. God, this looks so dumb. Claymore looks so comically small in comparison to what Varka has equipped. It looks like a kiddie toy version of the real thing. Honestly, that's probably a pretty close assessment to what it is now that I think about it. Would have been funny had the devs actually allowed Varka's full-size Claymore to be used on the shorter Claymore characters, but, you know, guess it wasn't gonna happen. I did practice a bit with Sayu Dragon Strike, but it was honestly pretty simple with movement speed in hand. There was also a funny cancel I found out with Varka's weapon to get stacks quickly by canceling a charge attack animation. It looks goofy as hell, but it stacks the weapon fairly quickly. Though I don't think I would be using it in this instance, given that skill already gives you 2 stacks and the normal attack gives you 1. The cap being 4 stacks makes it not really worth to go for the charge attack cancel method. Now, even though I wanted to clear with this comp on one side alone, there's no way that I wasn't actually going to be able to take out the Wild Hunt enemies at my current investment level. So I did prepare a physical Dragon Strike comp as well, but well, I'll show you that in a bit. So talking about builds for a moment, Sayu's on 2-piece Glide, 2-piece Crimson, and utilizing Varka's Claymore as mentioned before. I wanted to use 4-piece Shim since I didn't really have a need to use Sayu's ult for healing purposes with Bennett already in the party. However, my Shim pieces aren't good enough for that, unfortunately. Venti, I was using 4-piece VV and Skyward Harp. Game White Red Shred would be extremely nice in this setup, and I had to use Skyward Harp instead of Elegy due to a certain boss on the second side in the first chamber. For Durin, I was using 4-piece Emblem and his signature. I wanted to focus on damage for him as much as possible, and that's mostly contained within his burst. Finally, for Bennett, I gave him 4-piece Noblesse and Skyward Blade. Very standard build for him. Rotation wise, I was going to start with Durin EQ, Bennett EQ, Venti EQ N2, Sayu E5 N1P, and then restart the cycle. Using Sayu Burst is optional. The main limitation is Durin's burst cooldown, which is 18 seconds, so if played properly, the rotation time ends up being around 18 to 19 seconds. I have Venti do N2 just to get the increased duration time on his burst. Dealing Varka's comp aside, I did also want to try a physical version that made more use of Sayu's qualities as a healer. I ended up deciding on this comp of Sayu, Inefa, Farina, and Diona. I'm not going to go that in depth with this comp, mainly because well, Inefa is really doing most of the damage. Let's be real here. Okay, Inefa's on her sig with like 4-piece Abaid, and even though Abaid's not giving a full bonus, it's still like enough. But yeah, it's just a funny comp that I'm doing in the second chamber basically. So with all that set up, let's see how well Sayu Plunge works, or Varka Plunge at home works.
交给我。哦，有大家在身边，起风了。咋了？害羞？我呀呀！我来保护大家。别想逃开哦！我要晕倒了！咋了？收起来吧，在这儿哟。我要呀！哎呀！留意脚下。哟呼！哦，有大家在身边，留意脚下，起风了。出来吧！
I will say the damage isn't terrible for Abyss. It's not going to clear anything in Fearless difficulty for Stygian. That's fine. I'm just memeing around, honestly, at this point. I still find it very sad that you can't really incorporate plunge mechanics into Varka's overall attack pattern strings. It would have actually made him a lot more dynamic as a character, but it seems like Genshin really hates having dynamic characters that give you fun opportunities to do stuff. They instead kind of want to lock you in their specific type of playstyle, which is, I think, is quite lame. That seems to be the downward trend of how they've been recently designing characters, unfortunately. And so it ends up that there's very little in terms of flexibility for what you can do when you're actually playing them. But that said, hope this video was somewhat interesting with the second plunge. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.